Yo, what's up, everybody? So today, I want to bring you a build for the Necromancer that I have absolutely had a blast with. Preseason, I played nothing but Bone Spear. I did experiment a little bit with Blood Lance and Bone Spear again after the big nerf. Um, but then I started off this season with a Bone Spear build. And then I noticed um, a malignant heart that kind of auto casted corpse explosion for you, and that was pretty fun. And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, hey, what about miasma? Okay, well, and then my buddy was like, hey, that would work really great with the blight build that I was trying on my necro preseason. So then we worked together, put this together, and it's like, holy crap, this is a ton of fun. And then I got the Howl from Below to drop, somehow, miraculously. And now my corpses are just running after everything, blowing up all over the place, dropping the miasma exactly where it needs to be. And it is just like a bring your own party. It is a ton of fun. So this video, I'm going to show you kind of my build. The Paragon board is an absolute work in progress. I want to keep experimenting with it and trying to figure out what works best. When you're looking at the D4 build guide, it's kind of not complete because I don't want to be like, hey, put these stats on there, and then you go and roll the stats and it turns out they're really not needed, or there's too much additive of this stat and not enough multiplicative of this stat. So what I'm going to give you is just an incredibly brief rundown of what's going on. If you want to save this D4 build and come back and continuously check on it, I'm going to try to keep it updated. Things may continually change as new discoveries are made. But in the meantime, you can keep working on stuff and discovering things. And if you find something that's even better, come back, drop a comment on the channel. Like I said, I do want to keep this really brief though, because it's not an in-depth, because it's not completed. I mean, I'm only 61. Now I have been pushing World Tier 4 content to see how far I can push this build. I'm having a lot of success fighting mobs that are 15 levels above me. The one area that is lacking are defensives, though. But that will come in time. My gear, I've not had any luck getting good defensive gear to drop, so that will come in time. But as long as you're quick on the evade button, my boots have 2 evades on them, and I'm keeping those until I can find another pair with 2 evades on it, or I can get some defensives. But this build has just been pushing the crap out of everything, and it has been an absolute blast. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to keep it short and simple. We'll start with the gear and skills. These aspects are subject to change, but from what I feel that I'm aiming for on my gear, I don't have all of these currently, but this is what I'm going to be shooting for. I don't know about this one. I think this one could be cool to do, but because we're going to have so many other CCs along the way, it may not necessarily be required or be of much benefit. So I'm not entirely certain about the shared misery aspect. For the chest, you're going to want this one, the aspect of disobedience. It's going to give you all the additional the armor, and since you're going to be constantly dealing damage, you should keep a consistently increased armor value there. It should be pretty much up all the time, as long as you're fighting mobs, because you're auto casting corpse explosion, you're auto casting corpse tendrils. It's going to be up all the time, right? Howl from Below, I was not planning on this one. I got this to drop in one of the most recent dungeons I did, and it's completely changed it. Right, so these corpses, when they run to the other mobs, they're just dropping miasma right beneath their feet. Okay, so now you're just getting shadow damage everywhere. If there's a mob that's not being hit by shadow, the corpse is running towards it and exploding. So you're just getting free shadow damage on mobs that you haven't even started to attack yet, which is awesome. Okay, because this just increases your speed clear time. This one I really like. I really like having that life per second heal. It's a good defensive stat. It helps keep your health up. It may not be required for you. I, at least at the moment, am going to keep this on my gear as much as possible. It may move location, but for now, you know, we're going to keep it here. The only one that I feel is necessary to keep in a certain area right now is the blighted aspect, and that's going to be on the amulet. So you get the additional 50% increase there. Aspect of the Void. I have not seen this drop yet, but it looks really cool, right? So it's just going to keep, it's going to further keep the mobs in your shadow damage so they can't walk out of it, right? So it increases the uptime on the dots, just increases the overall damage that you're getting from each blight that hits them. I'm excited for this one to drop because I can't wait to test it. Now, Cadaverous Aspect is pretty much going to be a requirement as well. Consuming a corpse increases damage of your next core skill because you're constantly consuming corpses. You know, you're getting a almost permanent uptime on all of your additional crit strike values from everything, your damage values from the corpse tendrils, the corpse explosions. It's always up. It never goes away. Aspect of the Expectant, because you're casting your basic skills so much, I do feel this could be beneficial, maybe not necessary. I do feel it's going to be beneficial though, because your Decompose, right, is going to give you an additional 10% increased damage to the enemy that you're decomposing. So if you're fighting an elite and you're targeting the elite and the mobs, you're getting an extra 10x there. It's kind of hard to, that one's up in the air. But Aspect of Grasping Veins, this is of course an absolute must because you're constantly casting corpse tendrils. So there really isn't much else to say about that one. Aspect of Decay, each time Shadow Blight key passive deals damage to the enemies, etc., etc. This is an absolute must as well because you're constantly dealing shadow damage. So you're constantly getting that Shadow Blight passive to proc over and over and over again. For your gems, obviously you want the damage over time, the amethyst in your weapon. You're going to want the maximum life in your armor. These are an absolute must. Your damage over time effects are increased by 30 to 40% for each different crowd control effect on the target. Unstoppable monsters and staggered bosses instead take 110 to 130 increased damage from your damage over time effects. So this is an absolute must. Like, you have to have this. You absolutely have to have this. Whether it's a good roll or a bad roll, you have to have it. And this is another must have because this is the one that keeps your corpse skills going every second. The better the roll, the better, right? But you've got to have this. Like, these two are an absolute must. This one's really cool too. It's going to give them that slow, the damage reduction from the Decrepify. I don't know if it's an absolute must. It is nice to have, but these two, you have to have these two. The build does not work without these two. For your skills, Decompose, Blight, Corpse Tendrils, Corpse Explosion, Bone Storm, and Blood Mist. Your Book of the Dead, you're going to want to run Sacrifice for the 10x or 10% increased shadow damage, the 15 increased damage to Vulnerable, and the 30x increased crit strike damage. Moving on to the skill tree. Just 1 point in each. You're definitely going to want to keep Unliving Energy and Imperfectly Balanced here. This is an absolute must as well. Hued flesh, the more corpses, the more damage, the more damage, the more corpses. 5 of 5 on blight, you know, enhanced blight and supernatural blight. 1 point in a blood mist, that's really all you need, because that's your oh no button. Oops. Or, you know, if you feel like getting super aggressive, you can, well, I don't know, but you've got to kind of have that. Corpse explosion. Now, because there's so much stuff kind of needed for this build, there's only enough points to put 1 in a corpse explosion. You're going to want to try to get more on your gear to make that go up. This is another key one. This is what's going to drop the miasma on the ground. So you've got to have this one. 3 points in a Grim Harvest and 3 points in a Field Death. This is what's going to constantly keep that essence up, and this is going to, you know, give you the additional damage. You're going to constantly have these up, or this one up. I mean, it's a must. Death's Reach and Death's Embrace, you're going to want those as well. 1 point each for the Corpse Tendrils. This one's kind of hit or miss. You can kind of choose to do whatever here, as far as either putting points here or putting points in the attack speed. I've got them in the attack speed for the moment, but I may switch them back over to Crippling Darkness, and try to find some attack speed elsewhere, because 3 points in the Crippling Darkness is going to give you a 15% chance to stun for 3 seconds, which is just going to further increase the damage that you're doing to these guys. So it's kind of up to you. I've moved those points around. Again, this build is still a work in progress. So 1 point and then 3 points in Gloom, Terror, and if you want Crippling Darkness over the attack speed. The other must-have is Standalone and Memento Mori, or Memento Mori. I'll say however you want. Bone Storm, Prime Bone Storm, Supreme Bone Storm, damage reduction, crit chance increase, and then the Shadow Blight key passive. Paragon points. Like I said earlier, this is a work in progress. The starting board, I put Sacrificial in because that's just going to give you a flat 10x increased damage. What we're going to do here on the second board is I'm going for the Flesh Eater board. I'm thinking Scourge for now. I'm not sure, but I've definitely got the Flesh Eater. I don't know. This is a work in progress. Like I said, constantly check back, or if you have a better board, then, you know, go for it. I'm really just not sure, because there's so many combinations right now that would work really well. And since this isn't truly like an in-game build yet, it's hard, because you're going to be moving so many points around and you're going to be moving so many glyphs around until you max them out and you get all your points. So it's really hard. You know, like you could put Exploit in there. There's just, you know, 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Some are going to be better. It's just, I don't know yet. But that's going to pretty much sum this build up. Any notes that I have, I'll leave them in the notes section. But that's pretty much it. Just go out and have a bunch of fun, kill stuff, and do it to it. We'll see you on the next one.